The first teaser trailer for Star Wars The Last Jedi just came out this weekend, and we're going to break this thing down for you guys, let you know what we found, what we thought, maybe some theories in there, and there is that potential for spoilers, just as a heads up, so let's get started.
So the trailer starts out with a black screen and what looks like could be stars, because it's a Star Wars movie, but then as the light comes up, it's actually a rock. And then we have the flashback to the old trailer for The Force Awakens with Finn popping up and being out of breath, but now this time it's Rey popping up and out of breath, and she's clearly on the island that we left her on in the end of The Force Awakens.
This could either be like she was force choked by somebody, maybe Kylo Ren came and visited the island just for old time's sake, or she was in that cave behind her, or she had a force vision.
So something has to be said about the music. I love the combination of the old Star Wars theme and the Force Awakens theme put into one. It just made it just amazingly cool.
We get this beautiful shot of the ocean and we get the island where Luke is on, and you hear Luke say, "Breathe," and then shortly after he says, "Just breathe." And yes, we're pretty sure that that's to Rey while she's training, but I also have a feeling that it was kind of like a gesture to all the fans at Star Wars Celebration, like, all right, everybody, calm down, just breathe.
So the next shot we get is of Rey looking out over the water. She could be water bending, because the next shot, she's earth bending with her hand on the rock, and there's these little pebbles floating up around it.
It looks very much like Superman on that second shot, where her fingers are on the ground and all the rocks are rising. It's very much like the first Man of Steel, and it's cool.
It's still cool.
But it's too similar, in my opinion. And that first shot, I have a theory about maybe there's a ship or something in the water that Rey has to get out, kind of like what Luke had to do on Dagobah, but that might be a stretch, and probably way too similar to Empire Strikes Back. Force Awakens was way too similar to A New Hope. And if they carry on and do another movie that's way too similar to Empire Strikes Back, what's the point?
So in the next shot, we hear Luke's voiceover saying, "What do you see?" And when the light comes up, you hear Rey's theme, but you're seeing the back of what we think is Leia, and she's in front of a star map of some type of map of something, we don't know. And in the background you can see what looks like Admiral Akbar.
And if you listen really closely, you can hear Princess Leia's audio from A New Hope saying, "Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope." So that could be coming back into play, the Obi-Wan family, the Kenobi family. Then we hear Rey say, "Darkness," and we see what we assume is Kylo Ren's mask, and it's all crushed up. Maybe he had another temper tantrum and just decided to stomp on his new mask, because the last time we saw his mask was inside of Starkiller Base, and then he quickly ran out to the forest, and he didn't have his helmet, unless he brought it with him somehow, or he just ran him back and got it really quick.
Or another theory could be
he just has a new mask.
He's feeling the draw to the light and destroyed his mask because he doesn't want.
It could be.
You don't know.
Yeah.
And the music there changes to Kylo Ren's theme song, so I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I love the changing themes within this
It's very
trailer.
dynamic, and there's a bunch of cues that just are like, this is what you're looking at.
Yes.
Here's a teaser. You can also just barely hear old Obi-Wan saying something about the dark side. Now, we can't really make out what he says, but I have a theory that he's saying that leads to the dark side. So in the next shot, it's like the very first time in Star Wars history that you see books. So then we see a book open, and it's the old Jedi Order logo with a gloved hand on top of it. We don't know whose it is, we don't know where this is. We assume that it's on the island with Luke and Rey.
If you listen closely, you can also hear Yoda say something. And all I hear is training or train. It's really hard to make out what he's really saying, but I don't know if that's just like a flashback to the original trilogy or if Yoda is actually going to have a part in this. I still think it would be cool because at the end of Return of the Jedi, we see Yoda's Force Ghost with Obi-Wan and Darth Vader / Anakin's Force Ghost. So
Possible.
they do exist. Just we haven't seen them yet in these new movies.
So the next shot we see is a pan around the island, and you see Rey practicing with a lightsaber, which is not something we saw Luke doing when he was in training, which is kind of cool. But it was kind of reminiscent of a Karate Kid type shot, where she's just kind of on top of a rock and balancing and wielding the lightsaber. But it was a really cool shot.
And everyone is talking about this rock formation. We have no idea what it is. It could be a tombstone, could be a statue, it could just be a rock. So this next shot that we get is very cool looking. These ships kind of look a little bit like B-Wings, maybe a smaller, newer version of the B-Wing. But if you look closely in the background, there are like these AT-AT walkers. In the distance, they look thicker and shorter, but that's going to be an awesome scene because these things are just scraping the ground of this planet, and it's like red Mars-y kind of dust. It's really cool looking. And also this pilot kind of sucks.
So then we get a shot of Finn, who we assume is still healing, and he's like in this new spacesuit thing, maybe in a new diaper tank, I don't know.
We see the return of Poe Dameron with BB-8. I just really hope that they focus a little bit more on Poe Dameron because we started off The Force Awakens with Poe, and he just kind of disappeared for a good hour, maybe. And then he comes back in the movie, and we have no explanation of why he left Finn on Jakku without retrieving BB-8. But this shot of all these explosions going on behind Poe's X-Wing, I doubt that they'll capture Poe again. They'll be kind of stupid if they have Poe recaptured and just a rehash of The Force Awakens. But if you look closely, there's an A-Wing. The back of an A-Wing is to his left. And from the opening crawl and from Poe Dameron himself in Episode 7, he's the best pilot the Rebellion or the Resistance has, and he can pilot anything. And I have a theory that he's going to turn around, take that A-Wing, and that's going to be his ship of choice for the rest of the movie. And I honestly think that would be cool because I've said it before and I'll say it again. The one thing that really drove me nuts about The Force Awakens is that they only used X-Wings and regular TIE fighters. They have so many more options for ships. They have the A-Wing, which looks like they're including in this one, the Y-Wing and the B-Wings, and then they have the TIE Interceptors, TIE Bombers, and all those other TIEs that they could have put in there, and they dropped the ball.
So the next shot we get into is leading more into the actual wars that Star Wars is supposed to be based on, and we get a lot of the fighting and things, and you see a shot of the Millennium Falcon. So that obviously begs the question, who's piloting the Millennium Falcon? Is Rey back with Chewie? Is Chewie just piloting it himself? Is C-3PO piloting it? Could R2-D2 be piloting it? Did Poe Dameron get it again? Who knows? We don't.
BB-8.
We have no idea.
So here we see Rey running, and she still has the blue lightsaber. And I'm a little disappointed that they're sticking with the blue lightsaber, but I can get over that pretty quickly, because I honestly think that Luke should be given the blue lightsaber and Rey needs to make her own, kind of like what Luke had to do in Return of the Jedi. But in this shot, Rey looks really angry, and she's running really fast, so I just wonder what happened here. Maybe that planet that they were on and Luke was training her, maybe the First Order came and started raiding it and possibly take Luke? I don't know. It's hard to tell from just one shot.
So then we get a shot of Kylo Ren without his helmet, and he's pointing his red lightsaber at someone.
There's two things to take away from this shot. One, that scar on his face is not nearly big enough as it should be from what we saw him get dealt in The Force Awakens. There's a lightsaber pretty much across his face. And the other is that he has his original lightsaber, and it's got the same flow to it, meaning it's like a broken kyber crystal or something. It's got the two hand guards, or whatever those are called, coming out the sides, and I seem to remember it being destroyed on Starkiller Base by Rey, and that's how she was able to finally defeat him, because she broke it by hitting it with her lightsaber, well, Luke's lightsaber, well, really Anakin's lightsaber, and then sliced him. So either he went back and got it, or just made a new one.
The next part, we see R2-D2 and what we assume is Luke Skywalker looking on this, it looks like a temple that's being destroyed. It looks like the vision that Rey had when she first comes across Luke's lightsaber in The Force Awakens. So we don't know what's going on, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah. This is probably when Ben Solo / Kylo Ren destroys the temple. We then see this shot of Captain Phasma and a bunch of stormtroopers, and this is not connected to the previous shot because they are inside of something. And hopefully this time we'll actually get Captain Phasma doing something, because in the last one she just delivered a few lines and then got captured by Han Solo and Finn and lowered the shields, and then was put into a garbage compactor. So hopefully she actually does something in this movie, because she was a wasted character. Didn't even need to really be in it.
So then we have what looks like the Resistance fleet attacking the First Order. And there's a bunch of the really cool ships flying around and firing at each other, and just makes a really cool shot. I hope they do a lot with that, like they did in Rogue One.
Yes.
I want more of that.
Yes, and that's what, again, Rogue One did better than The Force Awakens, is they actually had a battle in space. Force Awakens, I don't seem to remember them having any battles in space, any flight battles. They always were on a planet. And if you look really closely, this looks like an A-wing to me. And that just goes to prove more that my theory about Poe Dameron taking that A-wing and using it later on in the film, it just gives it more credibility. This just looks like it's going to be a gorgeous battle, and I'm excited to see it.
So then we have the awe-inspiring, jaw-dropping line of Luke saying, "It's time for the Jedi to end." And we have no idea why he's saying that. We don't know where it's coming from, but it was very shocking.
Yeah. It could be because he's a little disappointed in Rey and how she's performing in her training, or it could just be that he still regrets trying to train a new generation of Jedi and Ben Solo / Kylo Ren betraying him. So he's like, what's the point? It's just everyone's turning to the dark side.
But it could also be, clearly, when Luke ran away and didn't want anybody to find him, he's clearly going through some type of change in himself, too. Mm-hmm. Because if you think about it, he didn't really have the basic training of a Jedi at all. He was too old, he was reckless, he left in the middle of his training, then all of a sudden he's the master. So he's probably going through a lot of instability, so we don't know what he's going through or why he's saying that. I assume we'll find out more. I think he probably discovered something that's making him change the way he's thinking about the Force and the Jedi and the Sith. It might not just, he's saying there's so much more than just the light and the dark side. It's so much bigger than that.
There's way too much speculation that can go on with just that line. So we'll leave it at that. And the runtime of this teaser trailer is a bit deceiving because a lot of the trailer is devoted to black screen and then over 10 seconds of just the title being revealed. And that's perfectly fine because it's a teaser trailer. It's just enough to whet your appetite and just get you wanting more. A couple things to note that we're missing from this is Benicio del Toro's character. We still have no idea what he is going to look like, who he's really playing. We assume that he's playing a bad guy and maybe some kind of Sith or some kind of character like that. And we didn't see anything of Snoke, but we do know that his character is going to be in it, and he's actually not going to be CGI, he's going to be a puppet, which I agree and don't agree with because they should just stay consistent, but whatever.
We know what happened with Yoda when they tried to make him a puppet.
Yes, in episode 1, he looked like a frog. Kermit looked more believable than Yoda.
So that's the teaser. We want to know what you guys think. If there's any other theories out there or some other thing we might have overlooked, please let us know in the comment section below.
Yeah, if you like this video, be sure to give it a big ol' thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you hit that bell icon next to the subscribe button so you can be notified when we upload new content. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.